I am a henpecked husband, a wife slave ridiculed by everyone, just because I am weak, timid, and submissive. At home, I treat my wife like an ancestor to be worshipped. Only her words are law. However, not only did I feel no remorse, in the 3rd year of marriage, I even turned into an incompetent husband, allowing my wife to spend spring nights at home with her lover. After they were done, that man threw his arm around Willow's shoulders, laughing arrogantly and brazenly. Like some brainless villain in a TV drama, I took a sip of soup, and respectfully escorted him to the door. Upstairs, Willow leaned lazily on the railing, walking unhurriedly. When her eyes met mine, she smiled carelessly and said, "Honey, you could try it too, you know. Who knows? Maybe a young and pretty girl could help you rise again." I knew she was mocking me. Knew that she always loved grinding other people's dignity beneath her feet, but I only lowered my head and smiled faintly, because what Willow didn't know was, the games I played were far bigger than hers. Chapter 1. When I came back from a business dinner, the sound of spatulas clashing came from the kitchen. The bedroom light upstairs was still on. I had been married to Willow for 3 years, and she had never once stepped into the kitchen. By midnight, even the housekeeper had gone home. I paused, then walked toward the kitchen. Seeing the men inside chopping bones didn't surprise me. Only as I got closer did I smell the aroma of hangover soup. I had to admit, at 20-something, his raw energy seemed endless. He was wearing a gym tank top, his shoulders and arms solid. Maybe he heard someone coming, because he smiled and said, "Willow, help me swap this knife. This one's a bit dull." I obediently picked up another kitchen knife and handed it to him. He smiled, turning as he spoke. "Didn't I tell you to go rest?" The rest of his words died in his throat, as a porcelain plate crashed onto the marble floor, tiny shards grazing near my feet. The man's face turned pale, his voice trembling as he stammered, "Mr. Wong, please, don't be impulsive." My eyes lingered on his neck and shoulders, where a string of lipstick marks betrayed exactly how much pleasure my wife had just indulged in. I smiled calmly and asked, "The hangover soup, can you spare me a little?" Chapter 2. I can't really remember when my marriage with Willow started to rot. The first time I caught her, it was with her former bodyguard. That day really caught me off guard. When I opened the door, I saw entangled shadows on the sofa Willow and I had once chosen together. Seeing me, that man pretended he was only dropping Willow off, then fled in panic. Willow, meanwhile, put on the act of being dead drunk. Their acting was so bad it could have gotten them blacklisted in the entertainment industry for 50 years. I knew Willow had been drinking that day, but nowhere near drunk, and I also knew that man just wanted to take advantage of her tipsiness for something bigger. But since things had already gone that far, it was no surprise when he later ended up behind bars. My memory has always been sharp, and I instantly recognized the man standing across from me as Makoto, someone I'd seen 4 months earlier. That day, I had driven to Lu Corporation. In the pouring rain, I saw him scoop Willow into his arms. I watched as he gently placed her into his car. The scene was so picture-perfect it looked straight out of a romance drama. I took another sip of the hangover soup in my bowl, blandly glancing at the men standing by the table. Makoto kept his head down, fists clenched tight, his fingertips turning pale from the pressure. I opened my mouth to dismiss him. "It's late." Startled, he suddenly looked up and said, "I'll leave right away." Mr. Wong. Not bad, he had enough awareness to know his place. No wonder Willow kept him around for so long. He didn't ask to go upstairs for one last look at Willow. He simply obeyed, picked up his phone, and walked toward the door. Halfway there, he suddenly turned back and said, "Mr. Wong," he said, "please remind Willow to drink the hangover soup. Otherwise, tomorrow morning I worry she'll feel unwell." I nodded in agreement. The moment the door closed, Willow slowly walked out of the bedroom. Her slip dress was skimpy, lace fabric barely covering her curvy figure. I gave her a glance, then looked away indifferently. I said, "You heard it. I don't need to remind you." She responded softly, holding the railing as she came downstairs. It had been a long time since Willow and I had shared intimacy. Her bed partners had never stopped rotating, yet there was never a place for me. Our marriage was hanging by a thread. "Honey," her voice was gentle as she called me. I looked up. She blinked at me and said, "Maybe you should give it a try too. Who knows, maybe a young and pretty girl could help you rise again." Chapter 3. I looked at her delicate face, and for a moment, I thought back to our wedding day. Everyone was smiling, blessing us with wishes of growing old together. Only my best friend David kept his face expressionless. At the moment the staff invited me to step in, he patted my shoulder and said, "George." He shrugged and added, "Welcome to the swamp." A wealthy marriage is more like a transaction of interests. On the surface, my marriage with Willow was more like a display item in a shop window. Passers-by would marvel at what a perfect match we looked like, but no one thought about how rotten the materials were beneath the glossy surface. Under the shadow of money and power, Sincerity from those at the top was nothing more than a rare, feeble thing. Who would have thought that the one urging me to cheat would be my own wife? Chapter 4. The phone on the table buzzed once. I looked down and saw a message from the contact saved as young pretty girl. Willow sat across from me. I stood up, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and said, "Something came up. I'm heading out." She gave a faint response. By midnight, there weren't many cars left on the road. I drove smoothly all the way to the location Anna had sent me. There were still plenty of cars parked outside the bar. 4 or 5 young men clustered together, talking about who knows what. And then I spotted her immediately, standing under the street lamp. Anna. The girl's figure was slender, shapely, the white light overhead casting her face into a blur, yet still strikingly beautiful at first glance. I parked by the roadside, got out, and walked over, calling, "Anna." She lifted her head, but before she could speak, a boy suddenly rushed out from behind and blocked between us. The heavy stench of alcohol made me frown. He shoved me hard with surprising strength, his tone hostile. "Hey, where'd you come from? You're too old to be hitting on a young girl." I was only 28, but after long years in the Vanity Fair of power and money, I inevitably carried an aura of adult cunning, a sharp contrast to students untouched by society. He gave me a once-over, his voice dripping with disdain. "You don't actually think Anna would go for some old man like you, do you?" I raised my brows, but before I could speak, someone behind me pushed him aside. His drunkenness cleared by a fraction as he stammered, "Anna, he's my senior." Anna's voice carried a chill in the night air. The boy froze, then quickly lowered his head to apologize. "I'm sorry, I didn't." Anna cut him off coldly. "My circle of friends doesn't need you to interfere. Classmate Martin, we are nowhere near familiar enough for that." She paused, then added, "Perhaps you should find a teacher to remind you what manners are." The boy's face turned pale in an instant. I could practically hear the sound of his heart shattering. TSK. Too tragic. Chapter 5. I met Anna in a bar as well. Willow's scandal had flared up early, dragging down the company's stock price, and I had to exhaust myself with PR. Frustrated, I came to the bar alone for a distraction. The place was crowded, voices booming. The bartender joked with a smile. "Who knows, maybe tonight you'll run into a beauty to lift your spirits." I neither agreed nor denied, just stood up and headed to the restroom. On my way back, I happened to stumble across a confession scene in the hallway. Through the deafening music, I heard a man shout with all his might, "I like you. Please give me a chance to be your boyfriend." I couldn't hear clearly what the girl said in response, so I leaned forward out of curiosity. What I did see was the man leaving in embarrassment. At the moment the girl turned around, I finally saw her face. Anna, the heiress of the Sue family, born with the purest golden spoon in this world. A businessman's instinct is sharp, and in that instant, I made a decision. I stepped forward, lightly patted her shoulder, and said, "Heiress, I'm not like those other men." I added, "I'm a man with a wife." Anna was speechless. Chapter 6. A beauty descending from the heavens could do more than ease the heart. She could also revive a middle-aged man worn down by life, bring him back to full strength. After all, if I could partner with the Sue family, billion-dollar contracts would fall into my hands with ease. Pleasing her was far simpler than dealing with those scheming old foxes in the business world. Years after graduation, I shamelessly used my teacher's network, playing the role of a fellow disciple to show concern for the Sue heiress. Back when I was young, winning over girls was my specialty, whether they were mature seductresses, lawless, innocent darlings, or arrogant tsunderas. I could handle them all with ease. But Anna was untouchable. She deflected every one of my advances with precision, wrapping all my gestures of goodwill under the righteous label of senior looking after a junior. Just like tonight, when out of care for my fellow disciple, I came to the bar to pick up a drunk in her. Chapter 7. When I started the car, Anna Sue was already sitting in the passenger seat. She said softly, "Sorry to trouble you today." I leaned over, pulled down the seatbelt, and buckled it for her. Her breath caught, restrained and shallow, and she fell silent. I could almost smell the faint citrus scent on her. When I turned back, our eyes met, our noses nearly touching. I smiled. "Why'd you stop talking?" Anna nearly bristled, immediately pushing me away. "What are you doing? Too close." Her ears flushed red, like a ragdoll cat puffing up in winter. Biting her lip, she muttered, "George, can't you talk properly?" She paused, then continued, "Thanks for picking me up today, but always troubling you like this. I don't even know how to thank you." Leaning back into the driver's seat, one hand on the wheel, I replied solemnly, "We're fellow disciples. No need for thanks. If you really don't know how to repay me, you might as well marry me." "George." The ragdoll cat flared up. I answered calmly, And then I asked, "What orders does the heiress have for me?" The heiress frowned. The heiress shut her mouth. The heiress was unhappy. After a long moment, She finally squeezed out a sentence. "You're not an old man," I asked. "Then will you or won't you marry me?" The girl in the passenger seat didn't reply for a long while. At the pause of a red light, I turned to glance at Anna. She was propping her chin with her hand, half-lidded eyes resting on mine. The object on my ring finger reflected a dazzling light, an unmistakable wedding band. Most people in our circle didn't like wearing wedding rings. Love and fidelity, neither of those words had much to do with a hollow marriage. So naturally, I was seen as an outlier. At first, they joked that I was a henpecked husband, but I never got angry. In fact, I almost wore it as a badge of pride. So they labeled me a simp, thinking I was so desperate for my wife's affection that I could even tolerate her messing around with other men. The moment the traffic light turned from yellow to green, I heard Anna's calm voice. "I don't date men who already have wives." Chapter 8. The next day at the auction, I ran into my brother David. He glanced at the dark circles under my eyes and teased. "Well, so you finally found someone. Still, better take care of your health." I sighed helplessly. "No, I was just someone's driver in the middle of the night." David gave me a once-over, then said thoughtfully, "Why do I feel like Anna's on a pretty high level?" I neither confirmed nor denied. What caught my attention today was the antique necklace up for auction. I plan to win it, then send it to Madame Sue tomorrow. A skilled businessman always knows the art of pleasing others, of catering to their tastes. That was my sole reason for coming today. The staff brought out the final, most treasured piece. The intricate, exquisite necklace shone dazzlingly under the lights. I paid no attention to the auctioneer's introduction. The moment the starting price was announced, I raised my paddle. The auctioneer called my bid. Immediately, others began to raise the stakes. 3 million, 3.2 million, 3.5 million. After some thought, I raised my paddle again. 3.8 million, the auctioneer announced. Silence followed. He asked, "Any higher offers?" 3.8 million, once. 3.8 million, twice. And then, 4 million. A sudden voice cut him off. I instinctively turned toward it. There sat Willow, paddle still raised, nestled comfortably in a man's arms, smiling right at me. Makoto, noticing my gaze, gave a lazy yawn. I withdrew my eyes. 4.2 million, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. Willow seemed determined to challenge me, matching my bid step for step. The people around us lowered their eyes, pretending not to watch, quietly enjoying the drama of a rich couple's public fallout. A headache pressed at my temples. I rose and walked toward Willow, frowning. "I remember you always thought gold jewelry was tacky." She rolled her eyes and snapped. "I just suddenly feel like that necklace suits me." As she spoke, she hooked Makoto's hand and let it rest just above the soft rise of her chest. She asked him, "What do you think, Makoto? Don't you think it would look perfect here?" Makoto instantly caught on, hurrying to reply, "Of course, Miss Lou, you'd look stunning wearing it." Willow winked at me, peach blossom eyes tilted in mockery. I tore my gaze away. The composure I had maintained for years nearly cracked in that moment. Willow relished provoking me. Through the years, her suitors had been endless, their methods of taunting me ever more creative. The only time I had lost my composure was 2 years ago, when I personally punched one of them. I can't even recall his face anymore. The only thing etched in memory is how Willow brightened instantly at seeing my anger. She took my hand, pressed it against her cheek, nuzzling it as she cooed. "Honey, if he upsets you, just tell me. There's no need for you to dirty your hands." Chapter 9. I said nothing more and walked out. Inside, the auctioneer's gavel fell, deciding the necklace's fate. At the entrance, I watched as staff directed Willow and Makoto to finalize the purchase. The moment Willow received the necklace after paying, my mood instantly lightened. I lowered my head and sent a message to the heiress Anna, saved in my contacts. "Where are you?" Anna replied quickly, "Laboratory." I checked the time, then asked, "Haven't had dinner again, have you?" The typing bubble lingered for a long while, yet no complete message came through. So I sent another myself. "Private kitchen alley. Wait for me. I'll be at your campus gate in about 40 minutes. When I put away my phone, David gave me a look. "Being a food delivery driver for the heiress today?" I nodded. He hesitated, as though wanting to say more. I just smiled. "David," I said, "I'm a businessman." Chapter 10. My timing was just right. Anna was standing at the school gate, frozen in place like a silly goose. There was a kind of dumb, dazed cuteness about her. I pulled the car up in front of her, rolled down the window, and handed her the package from the passenger seat. Anna thanked me softly. I looked up, about to tease her with a remark, when I spotted two all too familiar figures not far away. The world really was small. Turns out, the college athlete my wife had picked up was from this very school as well. The necklace Willow had just bought was already hanging from her neck. Even in the night, it couldn't conceal its brilliance. But jewelry is meant to complement its wearer. Placed on someone it doesn't suit, It only looks out of place. Willow simply didn't have the aura to carry such a luxurious piece. She had become nothing more than the necklace's backdrop. My foolish wife, no longer young, yet still playing childish games of jealousy and rivalry. Anna followed my gaze. Willow's back was toward us. Only Makoto's face was visible. You know, he's actually kind of handsome, I said, withdrawing my gaze and looking at Anna with interest. She turned, meeting my eyes, tilting her head in confusion. I said, my wife likes this type. I looked at Anna. I don't like that type. Anna blurted out almost instantly. Our words collided in the air. I froze for a second or two, then gave a mischievous smile. The heiress's face flushed red at once. She covered it with her free hand. My curiosity was piqued. I asked, then what type do you like? Anna's skin was far too thin, like a snow mochi stuffed with too much strawberry filling, making one itch to squeeze. Anna pursed her lips. Silent, I said. Heiress. She answered. George, taking a breath, the red still clinging to her ears. She lowered her hand and looked at me. She asked, when you said your wife likes that type, what exactly did you mean? Liking a type simply means liking a type. What more could it mean? I didn't answer her. I only waved with a grin. Let's go eat. It's getting late. Anna frowned, seeming somewhat unhappy. After a pause, she sighed and asked, are you free next Friday? I asked. What for? Then, amused, I laughed. Heiress, are you about to take the first step into a forbidden romance? George. She shouted my name angrily, ears flushed red. I just want to thank you for taking care of me, with a meal, I asked. Just the two of us? She replied. I said. As Confucius said, food and desire are the great urges of humanity. A man and a woman dining alone. Heiress, you're playing with fire. I reached out to pinch Anna's cheek. She couldn't dodge in time, and my finger poked her dimples. She jumped away as though burned. With a cold huff, she said, forget it if you're too busy. Anna turned her eyes away, avoiding mine. Her tone stubborn. I said, of course I'm free. Then I smiled. See you Friday. Chapter 11. I had expected Makoto would come to me. I just hadn't thought he'd come so quickly. The message arrived on my phone while I was still working through some documents. After reading it, I pushed the files to Secretary Shen. I'll be back in about half an hour. Host the first 5 minutes of the meeting for me. She nodded in agreement. I went downstairs, drove to the cafe Makoto had chosen. The moment he saw me, he stood and greeted, Mr. Wong. I nodded. He smiled and said, I remember you don't like coffee, so I ordered you a cup of tea instead. Is that all right? I inclined my head. I asked, you said you had something to tell me. What is it? Makoto looked at me, hesitated, then drew in a deep breath and said word by word, Mr. Wong, Miss Liu is pregnant. His brows furrowed, expression heavy as he continued, Mr. Wong, you know about me and Willow, so I won't beat around the bush. This child is mine. He paused, eyes cast down as though pressing down a swell of emotions. Then he said, I chose to be honest because I know too well the pain of being tricked into raising another man's child. My own father only found out, after raising me and my brother, that neither of us were biologically his. So, Mr. Wong, I set down my teacup and cut him off. I recall Willow has always taken precautions quite well. The unexpected turn left me momentarily startled. Makoto lowered his head. His voice was hoarse, laden with guilt. It's all my fault. A moment's recklessness caused this mess. Mr. Wong, if you want to hit me or curse me, I won't fight back. His voice trembled, but his eyes were unwavering as he went on. Mr. Wong, a true gentleman helps others fulfill their happiness. Since you and Willow have long been estranged anyway, why not let us be together? I'll treat her well. I had always thought Willow was foolish. I hadn't expected the men she chose as her stand-in would be just as much a useful fool. I glanced at the time, realizing I could finish earlier than half an hour. I smiled. Mr. Ito, I asked, do you know why I agreed to see you today? He froze, eyes blank, his honest, clumsy nature showing through. I said, my time is precious. Normally, I never involve myself in Willow's affairs, but you're different. I smiled. I've always admired you. Not only are you responsible, you're also deeply devoted to Willow. Leaving her in your hands, I can feel at ease. I've never been stingy with praise, especially for someone so naive. I lifted my hand, patted his shoulder with a smile, and said, so I'll trouble you with this. Take this chance, and let Willow divorce me. Can you do that? Chapter 12. The day Anna came to find me. She drove herself. I stared at her car for several seconds, then couldn't help myself. Gritting my teeth, I said, damned rich people. All those years scheming back and forth in the business world, and yet it still couldn't compare to being born with everything handed to you. Anna chuckled, asking, don't you count as one yourself? On the road, I sighed. When I was a kid, I heard people say, one day you'll grow into the person you hate the most. Anna tilted her head. And what kind of person do you hate? I replied. Rich people. Anna was speechless. The restaurant we went to had quite the atmosphere. We sat by the window, chatting idly. Halfway through the meal, a waiter pushed over a small cart with a birthday cake on it. I looked at Anna in surprise. The girl met my gaze, gave a playful smile, and said, "Happy birthday. I didn't know what gift to get you, so I figured I'd just treat you to dinner." I gave a thoughtful smile. The best way to close the distance between two strangers of opposite sexes is an ambiguous, half-real flirtation. Compared to a long-lasting gift, a single meal could place our relationship in just the right spot. That was why, even though I tried to please Madame Sue, I never gave Anna any expensive presents. But Anna always hovered on the edge of the red line, close enough to touch it, yet never stepping past. Why was that? I took a bite of food, but before I could speak, the restaurant lights flickered, and the central piano tune suddenly grew romantic. Several waiters walked out carrying flowers, pushing a large cake topped with 2 lifelike figurines. I rubbed my chin, listening as the staff congratulated the couple at the next table. "Happy anniversary. May your love be everlasting. May you grow old together," I remarked. "Now that's true devotion." Anna looked over. Her expression complicated. She bit her lip and murmured, "Maybe your wife, right now, at home, is also carefully preparing a dinner for you." Her words came out halting, stumbling. I smiled at her. Anna met my eyes, but after a long while, she lowered her gaze as though avoiding me. I said, "You really don't know me at all." Then I gestured casually toward the couple, motioning for her to look. One of them was Makoto, whom she had seen before. The other, a young woman crying with emotion. I pointed at her, laughing. Surprise, my wife is right there. Chapter 13. When Anna rose to her feet, the wine glass on the table nearly toppled. I reached out and caught her wrist. The girl froze. Her movements halted, staring back into my half-smiling eyes. For the first time, she didn't yank her hand away as if I were a plague. I shrugged, grinning at her. "Eris, how about staying to have a drink with me?" Chapter 14. When I sent Anna to the hotel, neither of us had really drunk much. Just as I was about to say goodbye, I suddenly heard her ask, "George, that first day we met, you went to the bar because of her, didn't you?" Anna sat in her chair, lifting her eyes to meet mine without flinching. Her pale skin carried a faint blush from the alcohol, but her eyes, like a star-strewn night, shone dazzlingly bright. From the day I met Anna, it seemed she had always been rejecting others, cold, aloof, noble. Eris raised under strict and elegant family tradition. Only when facing me would she occasionally show a little temper. Perhaps it was the perfect night. Perhaps it was the faint intoxication. Everything told me, now was the perfect moment to pour our hearts out. I took a step forward, reaching out. Anna didn't pull away. As expected, gentle girls were always far too soft-hearted. I gave a bitter laugh. I really am such a failure. I've always known she was cheating, but I pretended to be blind. As long as it didn't happen right in front of me, I told myself it was just a rumor. My voice was hoarse. Everyone laughs at me behind my back, saying the cheating mark is welded to my head, yet I still cling to our wedding ring. I sighed. The day I met you at the bar, news came out that she was vacationing with another man. It was her birthday. I had even prepared a surprise, waiting to celebrate with her. Never thought someone else was already celebrating. That day, I was in pain, drinking heavily. I thought, why not me? I looked at Anna. The moonlight was still. Such a night had the kind of magic that could turn lies into truth. I whispered, "Why should I keep swallowing my anger?" I cupped Anna's face. She froze, then whispered, "George," I said. "And then I saw you. You're different, unlike anyone I've ever met. You carry an air of distance, cold, untouchable, but that's only a disguise. I've seen many people wallow in self-pity when they're vulnerable, but you're different. You hide that fragile, sensitive side so deeply that no one ever sees it." I leaned closer, our eyes locked, so close that our breaths intertwined. Her blush deepened into red, her eyes slowly glistening with tears. I asked softly, "Will you stay with me tonight? Or?" I leaned in, whispering by her ear, "Give me a chance to cooperate with the Sue family." Chapter 15. Anna's eyes brimmed with tears as she looked at me. Anna froze in place. Anna was speechless. Anna's face was full of question marks. Chapter 16. I stepped back 2 paces, almost laughing outright in front of the Sue heiress. Anna Sue's expression shifted brilliantly, until finally she came back to herself, her face dark enough to drip water. "George." The girl called my name irritably. I answered with a smile. "Stop watching so many primetime melodramas. Eris." I waved a hand. "Go to bed early. I'll pick you up tomorrow morning to take you back to campus." Anna said nothing, gritting her teeth as she glared at me. I turned to leave, my hand nearly touching the doorknob, when suddenly she moved. A sweet fragrance surrounded me, her soft body pressed close. I froze. Then she hooked her arms around my neck and bit deeply into my shoulder. George. Anna's voice was tinged with discontent, something between anger and grievance. She said, "You win." Anna threw herself into my arms. Her voice brushed against my ear, laced with a trace of surrender. "Whether you want me, or the cooperation opportunity, I'll give it to you. I only have one condition," she said. "Tomorrow, immediately kick that bitch out." Chapter 17. Even a clay figure has some fire in him. During the break, I lay on the bed, mind foggy and restless. Moonlight fell across the sheets. I curled my fingers, as though trying to grasp something, and someone with sharp eyes slipped her hand obediently into mine. But in the next second, the ringtone shattered the night's silence. I released the hand in my palm, rolled over, and glanced at my phone. The name on the screen sobered me up instantly. Willow. It seemed my wife had finally remembered me, and here I was, not even home yet. I was about to toss the phone aside, but Anna reached first and pressed answer. Willow's voice burst out. "George? Where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Go home, my ass." That was my answer in my head, but I only began to say, "Today when Anna suddenly purred, "Darling," harder. Willow reacted immediately, her voice rising in a shout. "George, what the hell are you doing?" I opened my mouth, but Anna quickly hung up the call. Willow's shouting was cut off mid-sentence. I turned my head toward Anna. The girl blinked innocently at me. She had just opened her mouth when I covered it with my hand. I said, "From your condition last night, I thought you were just a naive little flower." I curled my lips. "Didn't expect you to be a scheming girl." A sharp bite sank into my palm. Anna broke free, then bit hard into my shoulder. Rolling her eyes, she said, "George." The heiress spoke as though it were the most natural thing in the world. "Enough rest. Get back to work." Chapter 18. When I got up, the heiress was still asleep, clinging to me like an octopus. I pried her hands away, got out of bed quietly. On my phone, more than 40 missed calls, all from Willow. Driving past the mall, I paused and pulled over. By the time I reached home, it was nearly noon. When I opened the door, Willow was slumped on the living room sofa, hair and clothes in disarray. Her phone lay nearby, a cake still sitting on the coffee table. I walked over, reaching to smooth her long hair, but she suddenly grabbed my hand. Her eyes opened, red-rimmed. "George." She bit her lip, her voice trembling. "Where were you last night? Who were you with?" She froze, suddenly noticing something, and murmured while staring at my hand. "Your ring. Where's your ring?" she asked. "Honey, where's your ring?" "Where else?" I took it off. I smirked, smiled at her, and said, "I brought you a gift." Meeting her confused gaze, I pulled something from the mall's shopping bag, a bright reminder of cheating. I grinned. "Ta-da." I placed it steadily on her, then stepped back to admire. "There we go. Returning the favor. This mark of cheating suits you better than anyone else." Sharp eye. No doubt about it. Willow nearly choked from rage, yanking it off and throwing it viciously to the ground. She glared at me, her voice low and heavy. "Who is it?" I shrugged. "Why ask? You planning to go pull her hair out? We're still married. I'd advise against it." I added. "But even if you do, you'll only humiliate yourself." She bit her lip. "Who is it?" Willow pressed on relentlessly. I smiled faintly. "Anna Sue." The Sue name was well known. Willow froze, disbelief written across her face. When she came back to herself, she grabbed my arm. "Honey, you're lying to me, aren't you?" She couldn't believe Anna would want me. Or maybe she truly thought I was a useless husband. I smiled, pulled a document from my bag, and tossed it before her. Divorce papers. They had been drafted long ago. I had been waiting just as long. Makoto was still too useless. I sat across from her, feigning generosity. "Take a look. The division of assets is simple. Yours is yours. Mine is mine. I won't take advantage. I want you to sign them today. The sooner we divorce, the better." Willow didn't move. She said, "Honey, we don't have to divorce." "Did Makoto tell you something? That pregnancy thing?" "I only made it up to trick him into." "Willow." I cut her off, my expression dark. "I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm informing you. If there's an issue with the contract, we can revise it. But the divorce is happening." She frowned. "Honey, I won't. Considering we were married, I don't think we need to go this far." I looked at her and dropped a word. "Financial statement fraud." Her expression changed instantly. I said, "Miss Liu." Smiling, I added, "You wouldn't want the media to know about that, would you?" Chapter 19. When Willow left, she took the divorce papers with her. I knew things were basically settled. Later, when I finally checked my phone, I realized I'd been bombarded with another round of messages. "Where are you? Did you go to the office? Are you busy? Was it something urgent? Why did you leave so early? Why didn't you wake me? I wanted to have breakfast with you. Are you planning to deny responsibility now? You don't want to be responsible for me, is that it?" I snapped a picture of the cheating symbol lying on the floor and sent it to her. I said, I already gave you a gift, Anna replied in a delicate, playful tone. Won't your wife be mad if she finds out, though? Chapter 20. The Lu Corporation was suffering from severe financial losses. One of the executives had embezzled a huge amount of funds. If this were exposed, the Lu family's business would be on the brink of collapse. That executive was related to the Lu family by blood. Of course she didn't dare hand him over, so she could only secretly try to fill the financial hole. I was wary that if I pushed Willow too hard, she'd drag me down with her. So during the 30-day divorce cooling-off period, I still lived at home, going to work at Wang Corporation as usual. But despite me, Willow had Makoto move in with us. Every day the two of them cuddled and cooed at each other. Now and then Makoto's doubtful eyes would drift toward Willow's stomach, where there wasn't the slightest sign of pregnancy. I knew she was running the same manipulative PUA routine on him again. When the 30 days were up, the sky was bright and clear. I drove Willow to the Civil Affairs Bureau. At a red light, the car fell silent for those 10-odd seconds. Willow suddenly spoke. No sarcasm, no sharp words, just a soft murmur. Honey, if I had never gone looking for someone else from the start, could we have stayed together all along? Truthfully, Willow and I had once had a stretch of life that could be called blissful. Maybe 3 months, maybe less. I can't quite remember. After all, things that don't matter aren't worth remembering. And besides, people always grow sentimental right before they lose something. She wasn't really regretting. If she had the chance to do it over, she'd make the same choice again. I didn't answer. Chapter 21. The moment I held the red divorce certificate in my hands, my heart finally felt at ease. As we stepped out the door, Willow's steps faltered. Honey, yes, I suddenly said. Willow blinked, stunned. I smiled at her. Yes, I spoke as if deeply affectionate. If you hadn't cheated, if it had always just been the two of us together, we would have grown old side by side. Maybe we'd have a clever son to inherit our company. We could have lived carefree, traveling the world together. And maybe in the end, when we were old and frail, we'd still look at each other and quietly promise to meet in the next life. I stepped forward, smile tender, and plucked a fallen leaf from her hair. For a moment Willow's expression wavered, her lips trembling as she whispered, Honey, but I sighed. No, you wouldn't. I stepped back, avoiding her hand, and looked at her coldly. You wouldn't. Willow, I know you, selfish, spoiled, vain, cheap, fickle, shameless. Her face flushed red with anger. I know you too well, Willow, I said. That's exactly why I married you. I chuckled. Enjoy it while it lasts. Now that we're divorced, you'll finally see your ex-husband's true colors. Willow stepped forward, straightening my tie the way she used to when we first married. Her tone was icy. George, you'll never win anyone's true heart, the woman who was once my lover whispered softly, in the most intimate tone, the cruelest curse, but who cares? Losing love is like a fish losing a bicycle. Behind me came the sound of a soft cough. I turned my head. The heiress leaned against the car, looking thoroughly displeased. I stepped back, waved goodbye to Willow with genuine sincerity. Goodbye. Chapter 22. Once we got in the car, I leaned over to fasten Anna's seatbelt. The girl turned her head away in annoyance, refusing to look at me. The next second, I grabbed her chin and kissed her. The heiress was startled, her head nearly bumping the window, cheeks flushed red. You, she stammered in protest. I chuckled. Jealous, are we? I asked. Her tone was sour as vinegar when she muttered, You're already divorced, and yet you still let her fix your tie. Relax. I smiled. There's no love left. Anna looked up at me, wide-eyed, like a little kitten sulking, secretly angry yet still hopelessly fond of humans. I pulled out my phone and made a few calls, to several media outlets, and to Lu Corporation's rivals. Sure, I had promised Willow not to leak things to the press, but whether others told the media was another story. Besides, after collecting files for so many years, dozens of terabytes worth, it was never just that one incident anyway. Chapter 23. News about Willow finally broke, and the rumors dragging Lu Corporation down spread like wildfire. Wherever Willow went, reporters hounded her, but she stubbornly refused to admit anything, until one afternoon, Secretary Shen knocked on my office door, her face glowing with joy. President Wang, she announced, Lu Corporation just issued new shares. The fish had bitten the hook. Chapter 24. People who don't want to meet again never bother to say goodbye. Lu Corporation had barely survived the first shareholder meeting under the weight of public opinion. The conference room was spotless, sunlight pouring in through the floor-to-ceiling windows. From here, you could see the crowds rushing about below. I admired the view for a while, sighing deeply. The world really is just one giant pancake wrap. The heiress, masked and capped, insisted on tagging along. She rolled her eyes in silence. Footsteps echoed outside the door. Shareholders entered in a hurry. And then, the sound of the final pair of footsteps down the hall. So familiar, like years ago, before we were married, when she'd rush to meet me. That same hurried pace. From outside, a secretary's voice came softly. Miss Willow, the one seated at the head of the table is the largest shareholder. This time, the one who bought. The swivel chair wheels turned. On the thick carpet, it made only the faintest whisper. I turned around, braced both hands against the table, and smiled leisurely at Willow. Long time no see, Miss Lou. Didn't expect we'd meet again so soon. Willow's expression nearly cracked apart. Chapter 25. The meeting did not go smoothly, mainly because I worked diligently to give Willow a hard time. Not that I could be blamed. The Lou Corporation simply had too many loopholes. Several times, when faced with my pointed questions, Willow nearly broke down. The more tears she showed, the better my mood became. When the meeting adjourned, shareholders left one after another. Some tried to exchange pleasantries with me, only to be intercepted halfway by Willow. She blocked my way, lifted her eyes, their color dark and stormy, her face black enough to drip ink. Biting her lip, Willow hissed, "George, you really are." Her teeth ground together. Despicable, shameless. I held back the heiress, who was ready to curse her out, then calmly brushed imaginary dust from Willow's shoulder. With an even tone, I replied, "Miss Lou, now that's unfair of you. In business, how can you call it despicable or shameless? You failed to protect your company." I smiled at her, though my eyes had turned cold. "And that's no one's fault but your own. The marketplace is ruthless. Wolves circling on all sides. Who knows who will bite the moment they smell meat? I've said it before, I am a businessman." Chapter 26. Leaving Lou Corporation, I settled into the car, only to catch sight of a familiar figure near the main entrance. My hand was suddenly seized. The heiress, puffed up with anger, clutched it tight, wiping carefully with a disinfectant towelette. Outside the window, a man struggled against security guards barring him from entry. Makoto looked haggard, worn down. He pleaded in desperation, "Let me in. I just need to say a few words to Willow. I won't take long. I'm begging you." His face was filled with despair, but the guards remained unmoved. "Sir, without permission, we can't let you in," one replied. Makoto's voice rasped, hoarse from strain. "Please, just let me see her once." He nearly dropped to his knees. At that moment, the automatic doors opened. Willow stepped out, her expression icy and detached. Makoto froze, then immediately lunged toward her. "Willow. Willow, why won't you see me? What did I do wrong? Tell me and I'll change." The guards reacted swiftly, blocking him. "Sir, stop this," they warned. Willow remained still, her gaze sliding over him, indifferent. "Next time," she said coolly, "I don't want to see him at the company entrance again." "Willow." Makoto's teeth clenched in fury. "You tricked me." His voice broke as he shouted, "I had a vasectomy because of you." Willow only rolled her eyes. "Then go get it reversed. It's not like I forced you. Of course, it might fail, but either way, I'm never marrying a eunuch." It was as if the last of Makoto's strength had been drained away. He stopped struggling, staring blankly as Willow got into her car. He remained there, hollow and shattered. I watched the entire farce until the end, rolled up the window, and drove away. Chapter 27. We stopped the car at the company entrance. Anna tried to unbuckle her seat belt, but I pressed down on her hand and leaned closer, only to end up kissing the back of her hand. The heiress covered her mouth, her earlobes tinged a soft rosy pink, as she scolded playfully, "You can't expect me to keep following you without a proper name or place, can you?" I tilted my head, admiring her beauty, and smiled. "Aren't you afraid? Afraid I'll still go after someone else?" "Heiress," I teased lightly. "Businessmen value profit above all, but not farewells." Anna met my eyes, steady and unflinching. In them, I saw a reflection of myself. She laughed softly and asked in a gentle voice, "Would you?" I replied, "Hard to say. My moral boundaries have always been flexible, higher with the high, lower with the low." She blinked and said, "Then what should I do?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, as if troubled, but the next instant, she spoke with utter seriousness. "Good thing I'm a virtuous and chaste woman." Too adorable. I almost burst out laughing. The very next moment, I pulled her hand over. Placing a still warm ring in her palm, I asked, "So, Sue Heiress is willing to continue our partnership?" Anna put on the ring, stretched out her fingers with a smile that curved her brows and eyes. She nodded and replied, "Sigh, who told me my moral standards are so high? In order to keep you from lowering yours and going astray, I have no choice but to offer myself to you." Extra, Anna. Chapter 1. Anna was dragged by her friend to the playground to watch a race. The 800-meter final was in full swing, and at the finish line, a crowd of people had gathered, chattering noisily. Her friend pulled her into the front row. Amid the deafening cheers, one name stood out, George. Anna raised her eyebrows and asked her friend, Who is George? Her friend pointed at the boy running in the lead. That's him. You really don't know him. Anna countered. Do I have to? Her friend scratched her cheek awkwardly. Not really, but he's really famous at school. Always in the top 3 of the grade. Also on the student council. And I heard he's actually a pretty good guy. Anna didn't comment. The shouts around them grew louder. The boy in the lead was getting closer and closer to the finish line. Anna looked up, under the sunlight. Her eyes met the boy's focused and determined gaze. Something strange stirred in her mind, almost instinctively, only for a brief moment. The boy crossed the finish line. Amid the thunderous cheers, he didn't have time to slow down. His momentum carried him forward, and he crashed straight toward the people ahead. Anna didn't dodge in time. Just as she was about to be knocked down by that force, the precious 800-meter champion scooped her right into his arms. The closeness of that contact made her overly aware. At the very instant her body temperature rose, only one thought filled her head, the faint scent of catnip. Chapter 2. Anna rarely dreamed. She had always slept well, so when she suddenly woke up drenched in cold sweat, she was terrified. The content of the dream wasn't frightening. If anything, it was almost tender. For the first time, the girl's wandering thoughts brushed against the edge of adolescence. In the dream, the man was only holding her hand, walking slowly along a park path. The very second before she woke, the man wrapped her in his arms and bent his head to kiss the dimple at her cheek. Sunlight filtered quietly down through the layers of leaves above, and it was George's face. Her body had stepped into puberty before her mind did, and this was the consequence. Anna pressed her hands against her flushed face, feeling filthy, unworthy, a young heiress, born into a family of scholars and books. For the first time, she utterly despised herself. Chapter 3. On her 21st birthday, Anna was tricked by her friends into going to a nightclub. It wasn't until she entered the private room that she realized she'd been set up. Her friend sat aside, ready to enjoy the show, while several men swarmed in, blocking every possible exit. Anna stood in the middle, ears ringing, feeling as if her head was about to explode. At last, she found an excuse to slip away, pretending she needed the restroom. In the hallway, Anna dialed her friend's number. Before the call even connected, someone blocked her way, confessing their feelings to her. She listened patiently, then gently refused, but the men cursed her for pretending and walked away. When she returned, her friend grinned. A few more guys just went out looking for you. Anna bit her lip and replied coldly. Do this kind of thing again, and you're finished. On the other end of the line, her friend finally realized that the heiress's mood had turned extremely sour, and softened her tone, apologizing to coax Anna back into calmness. Anna didn't hang up, listening absently to the other's words, when suddenly a pair of arms wrapped around her waist from behind. That faint scent of catnip engulfed her senses, waking every nerve in her body. The voice at her ear carried a dusting of time, yet sounded as familiar as if it had only spoken to her yesterday. The heiress's heart skipped a beat. With a smile in his tone, the man whispered at her ear, Heiress, I'm not like those other men. I'm a married man. The little deer inside her chest, long off duty, nearly crashed to death on the spot. Chapter 4. The heiress had no experience, but fortunately, she was young. Fortunately, she was beautiful. Fortunately, she had a flawless figure. And above all, there was a love about to burst through the dam of moral and social restraints. Tinged with a trace of jealous darkness, Anna lowered her head. Blossoms of peach flowers bloomed across the snow, falling all the way down. The room was dark, only their mingled breaths filling the silence, loud as thunder in the quiet night. Suddenly, her face was cupped in his hands. Anna lifted her eyes. Moonlight poured through the window into her gaze, tears shimmering on her lashes. Her eyes, filled with moonlight, gleamed like jewels washed by water, glistening even in the dim room. George met her eyes. Are you a cat? At the wrong moment, Anna suddenly remembered an innocent childhood nursery rhyme. In the snow came a group of little painters. The chicks drew bamboo leaves. The kittens drew peach blossoms. A faint smile slipped from her lips. She hooked her arms around George's neck. Their lips and tongues entwined, carrying with them a soft ticklish sensation. The scent of catnip lingered at the tip of her nose. His question was teasing. Anna's answer was serious. She said, Maybe I am.